Okay. These are the notes for 9.2 simple interest. I'm actually going to have two videos for this section. This section covers simple interest and compound interest. So this would be the easier of the two. That's why it's called simple interest, part of the reason. And so you want to watch this video as well as my follow-up. Simple interest only considers the principal when the interest is calculated annually. So if interest is calculated in any other way, if interest is calculated daily, if interest is calculated monthly, for example, credit card bills, they don't calculate interest annually because you get a bill every month. So interest is not calculated, in December or whatever, once a year. But simple interest is just used for things that are calculated once a year. And it's not used if it's any other increment of time. That would be what my next video is about. So the simple interest formula is I equals PRT. All right, let's talk about this. I represents the interest. I don't like that color. Let's see if we can change colors. Let's go to blue. All right, I is the interest. And interest is something you pay on borrowed money. Now, if you're the borrower, you're having to pay interest. You're losing money just for borrowing. But if you are the lender, interest is actually a good thing for you because you get to collect interest on people that you lend money to. So it sort of depends on where you are. If you're the borrower, interest is not good and you want to pay as little as possible. But if you're the lender, then you're going to try to collect as much interest as you possibly can. Okay, P represents the principal. This is the amount that you put in. Okay, and P stands for principal. Okay, P stands for principal, and P is what you put in. This is your starting amount, okay? This is the amount that you invested. This is the amount that you took the loan out for. This is how much the initial deal was, okay? And R is the rate, also known as an APR. That stands for annual percentage rate. Now, Hawks uses this a lot, so you need to be familiar with what APR means. It stands for annual percentage rate. That's very, very, very important. And rate has to be written as a decimal, okay? Now, we have done this before in other problems, but your rate has to be a decimal. How do you do that? Well, you take whatever rate is given, it's going to be a percent, and then you divide that percent by 100, and that will convert your rate to a decimal. So this is very important. This little trick right here, divide it by 100 and it'll convert your rate to a decimal. And T represents time. So you pay interest over time. Okay, so those are the parts of the formula. I is the interest. P is the principal. It's what you put in. It's what you started the deal with. R is your rate, also known as an APR, and it has to be a decimal. And time is time, okay? Time is going to be in years, okay? That's important. Why? Because we were given an annual percentage rate. Annual means years. So these two words kind of bounce off of each other. Since it's an annual rate, the time has to be given in annual terms, which means years. So that's very important. Example 1, Tina buys a car for $18,300. She finances it for 4 years with an APR of 13%. Okay, we've got everything we need. This is the P. This is the principal. This is what Tina puts into the situation. Our time is in years. That's very important. So there's T. And our rate is 13%. This is our rate. Now, we have to divide this by 100. This is our percentage, and a percent is always out of 100. That's going to move the decimal 2 places to the left, so our rate is 0.13. How much will Tina pay in interest? So we're going to plug into our formula. I equals PRT. P is $18,300. R is 0.13, and time is 4. Now I've got my calculator, so I'm going to calculate this in real time. I don't have the answers. 18,300 times 0.13 times 4 is 9,516. Now I did not have any pennies there, but remember, money is always, always, always rounded to 2 decimal places. So this is how much interest Tina is going to pay on that car. And the next question, you have to decide what to do with that interest. How much did the total car cost Tina? Well, it didn't cost her $9,516. That's how much interest she paid. So Tina bought the car for $18,300. She's got to add the interest that she's going to pay over that 4 years' time, and Tina ends up paying a whopping oh, you know what? I'm missing a zero right there. It's 18,300. She ends up paying $27,816 for that car. Now, while I'm here, let me talk to you a little bit about interest and purchases. Let's think about this. This is a very typical car loan, okay? 4 years is kind of an average time to pay for a car. $18,300 is what she paid. Look at what Tina ended up in the long run paying for this car. She paid half the value of the car, because half of 18 is 9. The car was approximately 18,000. She paid approximately 9,000 in interest. She paid almost half, or she paid half the cost of the car in interest alone. You have nothing to show for interest. So when you go to buy a car, you need to think about this. You need to really analyze that interest rate. You need to really analyze how long you're going to be paying for that car and see if the interest is worth the purchase. In Tina's situation, I would say no. She paid way too much in interest for that car. It's way too much. The car ended up costing her $27,000, and it was only worth $18,000. Cars do not earn value over time. So this was not an amazing purchase for Tina. All right, let's go to number 2. Jasmine buys a house for $84,600. Her interest rate is 5% annually, and she takes out a 30-year mortgage. Okay, we've got everything we need. This is going to be what she puts in. This is going to be her rate, and this is going to be her time. How much interest will she pay? So again, we plug into the formula, PRT. She puts in $84,600. That's supposed to be times. The rate is 5%. Now remember, we have to divide that by 100. Watch your decimal. This will be 0.05, not 0.5. So we're going to multiply that by 0.05. And her time is 30, so 30 years. Again, this is a pretty typical situation. Most people finance a house for 30 years. 84,600 times 0.05 times 30. And wow, I'm getting $126,900 in interest. You know, what's sad about this is that Tina paid way more in interest than the house is even worth. And to be perfectly honest, most of the time in homes, because you have to pay off a house for so long. I mean, most people can't pay off a house in 4 years like you could a car. But you end up paying more in interest for a house than the house itself is even worth. Sad. All right, when she's finished paying, how much will it cost her? Well, it started out as an $84,600 house. This is Jasmine, paid $126,900 in interest. So the total cost of this house, let me add those up real quick, is $211,000. $211,500. Wow, it's a lot of money. But the good news is she owns the house, she can sell it. So typically for a house, if you can, you're always better to buy than to rent. Because when you leave a rental, you've got nothing but a bunch of money that you paid in the past. But when you leave a house that you own, even if you haven't paid it off, when you sell that house, typically you can get your investment back. Something to think about if you're going to buy a house. But yeah, you pay a lot of interest when you own a home. Moving on to example 3. Stephen buys a motorcycle for $7,320. He goes to 2 different banks to inquire about a loan. Bank A offers 17% APR for 5 years. Bank B, 20% for 3. Okay, which bank costs less money in the end? Let's look at Bank A. All right, I'm going to speed up the process here because I think you get the point. He puts in $7,320. His rate at Bank A would be 0.17, and his time at Bank A is going to be 5 years. So in interest at Bank A, Stephen would pay 7,320 times 0.17 times 5, 6. Oh, is this possible? $6,222? Stephen, please don't do this. Stephen, this is not smart. Wow. I call this guy Stupid Stephen because he's buying a motorcycle and he's paying basically the cost of the motorcycle in interest. This is not smart. Don't be Stephen. Well, let's go to Bank B. Maybe they're going to help Stupid Stephen out. Okay, Bank B, Stephen's still going to get that $7,320 motorcycle. Wow, they charge 20%, but only for 3 years. 20% is crazy. Okay, don't go to that bank. 7,320 times 0.2 times 3, and it's going to be $4,000. 392. Now, this is a really important problem because you need to understand more about interest than this little video is going to probably have time for. But let's look at this. I initially thought that Bank B was going to be completely outrageous because their percentage rate was so much higher. It's 20%. So they had a higher, this is very important, they had a higher rate, but it was over a lower term. Term is another word for time. Whereas Bank A had a lower rate, but a higher term. And this is a very important life skill. When you go to take out a loan for anything, you don't just go and say, what's the rate? No, you have to balance the rate with the term. So we can look at this example. Stephen is actually better off with that higher interest rate of 20%, but over a shorter amount of time. So you don't just ask, what's your interest rate? No. You say, what is the interest rate and the term? You have to look at both of those factors when making a purchase. What is the interest rate and how long am I paying for this? Okay, so because Stephen ends up actually being better off with Bank B. This saves him money. Bank B saves Stephen money. And that surprised me because it was a higher interest rate. But again, the term was lower. That's very important life skill here. Example 3, please, please, as long as you live, remember example 3 in my simple interest lab. Okay? I want you to be able to make intelligent, educated purchases in your life. Any time that you purchase anything in the history of your life until the day you die, including a casket, you have to factor in the interest rate as well as the time. And those two things can make a really big difference. Question B, what is the difference between the two offers? Well, you just subtract there. $6,222 minus $4,392. I'm feeling lazy. I'm going to put this in my calculator. I hate to admit that, but it's true. $1,830 is the difference. $1,830 is the difference. And that's a lot of money that Stephen can save by going with Bank B. Shorter term, higher interest rate. Oh, that is like the best example we've ever done in the course of this class. Take that one with you in life. Last one, example 4. Quick Shelter offers 2 plans for buying a storage building for your backyard. Option 1, Option 2. This is very similar to example